Hello, hello, hello. Looks like we are live. As always, you can join the channel directly and shout out to and thank you to all of you who have joined the channel directly, paying either $1 a month, $5 a month, or a little bit more than that. You can also go to patreon.com/Aksum. That's patreon.com/Aksum, or subscribe to aksum.substack.com. We also have aksum.gumroad.com. We are everywhere. Today, I'm reviewing this thing. It says in Amharic, Siddetenyao Yesenes Uf Mishit. Siddetenyao Yesenes Uf Mishit. Siddet means exile or living abroad, being in the diaspora, being away from your homeland. Senes Uf refers to literature, and Mishit means evening. So, an evening of diasporic literature or an evening of exile literature. This was this past Sunday, an event in Amharic. It was very beautiful for the Ethiopian community of Los Angeles, not the organization called that, but just Ethiopians in Los Angeles who speak Amharic. And it was held at the Miracle Theater in Inglewood. If I'm being honest, the seats were a little tight in terms of like physically, each seat was kind of small. What could you do? Inglewood always up to no good. But I like that spot of. I think both downtown Inglewood and northern Inglewood have been getting better and better with the coming of the SoFi Stadium, and of course proximity to the Black Beverly Hills, aka Ladera Heights. You always have some interesting Black ventures going on in Inglewood, and now you had this Ethiopian community of actors led by one director Yibelt Al Taddese. Get his name right, yeah. Director Yibelt Al Taddese. He goes by Yibe, which is nice because it means it says in Giz, so it's a nice little pun there. But Yibe or Yibelt Al did a fantastic job of organizing the first such event, which I didn't get to see live in person, but I watched a 15-minute clip of on YouTube. This time I got to see the full performance. 5 p.m. was the slated start time. You already know about Colored People Time. They started an hour late, but he asked for forgiveness, and the event went on till 9 p.m. So a total of 4 hours. The program itself ran probably 3 hours in length, and he did a really great job. He invited, okay, you see these people here. He had Maritu, who's a famous Amharic singer, and there was a little bit of trouble with one of the songs with the DJ who was there, the Asmati, the traditional singer who was helping her with his keypad on one of the songs. But the other songs were amazing, and she actually did her last song a cappella. You have here in the middle Alam Sahai, both of these two very powerful older women. Alam Sahai has been running a similar such literature, poetry, theater productions in the Washington, D.C., and the larger DMV area in the East Coast of this variety for 22 years. So she is an OG of this venture. Here's Yibelt Al, the director of this LA program, and he was MC himself, and then he wrote several plays that were short and done like 7 to 15 minutes each. Then we have here Betty G, a younger musician. This time she did sing a little bit a cappella, but most of what she did was actually give a talk on women. And how women could be encouraged to be in the arts more. Alam Sahai actually did a very interesting sort of, like you could call it a mix of prose and verse. And she did this story, which was meta, not anything to do with Facebook, but meta in that it was a dialogue between her and a friend of hers in LA about what she could possibly write to the Ethiopians in LA that would be of any import. And it kind of poked fun at Hollywood. Hi, I'm Wenda. It poked fun at Hollywood. It poked fun at the jobs people in LA typically have. It poked fun at the rent being too damn high and many such other occurrences. And it was kind of a brilliant meta story. If I was to compare it to anything I've done on this channel, I would compare it to a review I did of C.S. Lewis's book on the screw tape letters. The screw tape letters are this kind of a tongue-in-cheek satire dialogue between a senior demon and a junior demon on how best to make humankind stumble. And so it was written in this kind of dialogue format, which was meta, meaning it's a dialogue about her coming to LA to perform, and it is itself a performance while she is in LA. So very good. Yeah, like I said, Maritu did Amharic songs mostly with a keyboard, but the last one was a cappella, all very fantastic, especially I think the a cappella. You really got the vibes, and she used famous singer, especially in the Dese area and the recently reconquered and reincorporated into the Amhara region, Raya was mentioned by her in one of her first songs. And to hear Amharic songs about Raya again is very pleasing to people who know about the war that is going on and the false placement of Raya into the Tigray region that had been taking place since the early 90s until the war broke out in 2020 and had been contested the whole time through the war. And now with the peace deal in South Africa, that should no longer be contested, although we'll be monitoring that as things go on. Again, Alam Sahai had her kind of dialogue and shared her experience at the end and begged for people to give their money, time, and effort to supporting the arts, and reminded them that oftentimes the arts are very poor unless they get rich donors or the government to support them or to assist them. Betty G, again, musician, they mentioned many a time. Her husband was in office. They're recently married and have a kid. Her husband is Elias Wandemu, a friend of mine and a friend of my father's. He is a longtime persecuted journalist who has printed and published and edited some 100 or more books on Ethiopia. If I'm not mistaken, he is still the only owner of a Black-owned press in a university situated at LMU, Loyola Marymount University, a Catholic university. And he has both a Black American press there and an Ethiopian press there. And I think he has another one that's just a religious press there as well. So he's done stuff on even Dorothy Day and the Catholic Day Worker movement as it was in Los Angeles, as well as Leimert Park, historically Black area of LA, and some of the poetry from there. And of course, many, 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 many books, scores of books, as I mentioned, on Ethiopia, past, present, and future. We had engineer. I learned a new word in Amharic, kina hinsa, which means in Ge'ez, it means the skill of building. And so architect, or kina hinsawi bayano malak. He was great because he's an architect, and he's super Orthodox Christian as well. Yveltal is also super Orthodox Christian. So, I mean, I think all of them were Orthodox Christian, to be honest. And it seeped through. They were very inclusive of Protestants and of Muslims and all types of Ethiopians, but it seeped through the whole performance that all of them were operating on an Orthodox Christian background with a pro-Ethiopian group done in Amharic. It's not super surprising, but it surprised me because a lot of times when they do events like this, it's very secular, but Director Yveltal was thanking God every 2 seconds in a very Orthodox Christian manner. And Director Yveltal was literally teaching about the Tower of Babel and why his profession of architects are to blame for such monstrosities. But also he was mentioned as someone who's affiliated with the Taika Nagast monastery, Ba'at Halamariam monastery, which is the mausoleum of emperors Menelik and his wife, Queen Consort Taitu Betul, and his daughter, Empress Zoditu. And it's a place where a lot of clergy in Addis Ababa, the capital city, go to learn as well. But he ended up surprising Alam Sahai, who she mentioned this a lot, because he kind of had a stand-up comedy routine. You know, he wasn't up there building something. He was up there talking in a natural way, in a very Orthodox Christian way, in a comedic way that connected with the audience. And he was using a lot of interesting analogies, using his own personal anecdotes and other devices to tell people and to encourage people to, no matter where they start, to just keep, building and getting better at whatever their craft may be. And we have Dr. Ahungana Alamayo, and he's right here. It's kind of hard to see him there, but he had several poems. His was straight poetry. He had several poems that he read. And Director Yveltal, I'm laughing because Director Yveltal did something I don't expect in Amharic Ethiopian audiences. He was very straightforward, very direct, very quick at speaking Amharic, reading Amharic, hyper fluent in Amharic, A lot of people think they're literate, but he's very obviously hyper literate. And I only ever met him once. And the one time I met him, he gave me a book right when he met me. So he's a pretty awesome guy, the director. And so anyway, Dr. Ahungana Alamayo went a little over his allotted time. And the program, as I said, was already late. It was slated to start at 5, began at 6 p.m. And then from 6 p.m. went on to 9 p.m. So about 3-hour program. And I think the first hour were like poems from Dr. Ahungana. And they were all fantastic, but he went over and he was publicly berated for it right after he went on. I was not accustomed to a host/MC in Amharic, in an Orthodox Christian, let's say undertone and overtone having session, berating somebody in a polite way still, but berating somebody. It's usually seen as a node or taboo. Overall, I really loved Siddetanyaw Yusana's Uhuf Mishit, or this evening of exile or diasporic literature, including poems, including singing, both a cappella and with instruments, and stand-up comedy and plays, sometimes 7 minutes, sometimes 50 minutes. One of the plays was about a funeral set in the year 2050, and it was a hilarious critique of where we are in society and how to stop trends. One of the things it was critiquing was selfies at a funeral and such matters like that. But overall, you had to be there, and I hope they're going to release it on YouTube or some other digital platform. And I'm sure and confident, at least in some shape, way, or form, they will, if not the full 3 hours. Some edited, produced summation of it. There were official cameras there, and everything was recorded. And his big thing is, the last time I saw them, they were in a church for free, I think, and now they're in a small venue in Inglewood. His big thing was, I remember Director Yibeltal at the end was talking about someone asked him if they could just buy a ticket for $20 and not show up. And he said something that reminded me of the Jay Electronica lyric, I want your mind, F your money. Because he said, I want you as a person. I want you and your being and your commitment and your time and your focus and your energy. I actually don't really care about your money. I want the money to cover costs, but it's not a money-making operation. Most of the actors, and there were 12 of them, they were all there for free. One of them, she was driving from Chino Hills several times a week to Los Angeles, some 50 miles one way, so 100 miles, I think, both ways, multiple times a week. Another one was coming from Orange County. I think that's something like 60 miles in total, multiple times a week. And every one of them were for free. These kind of slated people, I imagine they had some type of money, and they got them a white Hummer limo to pull up and a red carpet. So they made it really official. But he's just trying to level things up, and he's more interested in more people showing up and filling out and being active in the arts and using the arts, poetry, singing, theater, and stand-up comedy to critique society, to use humor and wit and satire and other devices for the aggrandizing or the glorification and the unifying of our people in the diaspora in exile, and hopefully that could impact back home in Ethiopia as well. Ra, hello. I don't know if your name is Rawa. If it is, Kamalachi, Hando. Anyway, that's what I have to say about this Ethiopian Poetry Slam, which is how it was called in English over the, whatever you call it, the banner or whatever's over the theater at the Miracle Theater in Inglewood, California. And this was my review of it. And if they have some link to it, I'll add it later. Thank you for tuning in, and stay in the arts, stay in literature, use humor to amplify the greatness of Ethiopia or whatever it is that you're passionate about. Peace.